Hello, weekly video. Today we're going to take a look at the Great League Remix Cup, which is going to be available in around 3 hours when you see the video. So if you haven't seen the first video already for the Open Great League, definitely check that out. It aired a little bit earlier today. Also leave the video a like if you enjoyed it, and let's go right into the meta. Taking a look now at the meta, we're going to see Steelix at rank 1, of course, as well as some more dragon type attackers here as well. You have, of course, Dragon Tail and the Steelix. That's why it's more like a dragon type attacker. You're also going to have the Guzzlord there. You're going to have the Swilus down there. Basically, Swilus is an alternative for the Guzzlord, which is kind of nice. What you're also going to see a lot of Pokemon that are weak to fighting type moves. Look at the in general meta here. You're going to have Steelix, Guzzlord, you have Auroras, you have even Mandibuzz is kind of weak to it. You have Regirocket is weak to it. All those normal types, all those dark types. So basically, fighting type moves are going to be very, very decent. Take a look maybe at something like the Machamp, which is going to be very nice as well. Otherwise, what you're going to see here, going to be a ton of wing attackers again. Actually, kind of interesting to see how many Pokemon have wing attack here again, as this move is something that is definitely very strong now. You're going to see here again, Gliscor is very high, Charizard is very high, Golbat is very high, Pelipper is super strong. Pelipper is most likely one of the best Pokemon to use in this meta. All those top meta Pokemon that you usually see are banned. What is not banned is actually Noctowl, which is interesting because it's usually like one of the top tier meta Pokemon, but I guess it doesn't count. Otherwise, you're going to see something like a Vigoroth, which might be a good save swap. Galvantula is very cool. There's some actually really good really good electric types in there, but what is not really in there is a lot of steel types. Yes, you have the Steelix, but Togedemaru, I don't really see the reason why you really want to use it. I guess there are some Pokemon where it's nice against, maybe I'm wrong, but there's something like Wishcast or whatever which completely hardwalls it. Also against the Steelix, it's not very nice. But other than this, there's not a lot really, other than maybe the Probopass, which has some play, but very interesting meta, very small meta to be fair. Definitely take a look at Steelix. Steelix is going to be the Pokemon you want to counter or like play with. So let's take a look at some teams. Going into the first team here, we're going to have a team which I think going to be the best one already. We're going to have the Steelix and the lead. Steelix, of course, if it's so high up in the meta, has to be in some teams as well. And they're going to be, I think, at least one other team where it's also in there. We have 6 teams in total. It was a little bit difficult to actually build some teams for this meta because there is just a limited amount of Pokemon that are really viable. The rest is a little bit tricky to build a team around that is very stable. This team is definitely my favorite of them all because it's just the easiest to really play here. We're going to have the Steelix in the lead. We're going to have the save swap of the Pelipper boosted now. Basically doesn't really have a good answer in this meta. There are not a lot of good steel types available as shown before. There are actually some very decent electric types available, which I also have a team with an electric type later on. So you have to be a little bit careful about this one, but still I think it's a very good save swap. And then in the back, you're going to have the Surfetch. Surfetch gives you a little bit more coverage compared to other fighters for those water and ground types. Wishcast is in the meta and is also definitely a Pokemon that you might going to face here. So it's definitely a cool Pokemon in the back. You can still run Machamp. If you don't have a Surfetch, run Machamp, run any other fighter that's currently decent in the meta, and you should be fine as well. The second team going to have Wishcast, which is going to be the best answer in this meta, I think, for the Steelix at least, because they're going to be able to have a little bit more of a consistent matchup. Against fighting types, you already have like the Psychic Fangs, which is going to do super effective damage. And this Pokemon, everything is kind of neutral, while you yourself, you're super effective against them, and you also have a pretty nice amount of bulk. So that's a pretty nice one. We're going to see in the back there 2 Pokemon that are able to counter potential grass types against you, as you have the Noctowl and you're also going to have the Galvantula in the back. One small issue for this team might be ice type Pokemon. Like, depending on which you're going to face, you can be fine. The lead is usually fine against it, but for example, if you're facing a Abomasnow, it might be a little bit tricky having a normal flying type and a Pokemon that's 4 times weak against grass, and also Galvantula doesn't really have the best matchup either. So it's a little bit tricky against this Pokemon, but otherwise this team looks really, really nice, and it's also pretty cheap and achievable, I think. For the next team, you're going to have the Machamp in the lead. We're going to have the save swap here of the Snorlax. You can also use the Shadow Snorlax, which is most likely a little bit better as well. Like, I would recommend you to use Shadow Snorlax. And we're going to have in the back either the Munchlax with Tackle, or you're going to have the Auroras, or you're going to have any kind of ice type here, you kind of need an answer for potential flying types. So Auroras is the best answer for flying types for this meta. Again, the combination between the Steelix and the Machamp is something that you see in other cups already, like the Master League or also in the Ultra League. And now we have it in the Great League. You can of course use other fighting types in the lead as well, but I think Machamp fits the role here the best. The main reason why this is like such a cool combination as well is you're going to have a Pokemon in the lead that really will be able to destroy like those steel types like the Steelix. And then you're going to swap into your Say-Swap here with the Snorlax, baiting out the potential Steelix in the back or like the potential Pokemon that doesn't want to face fighting type moves, but you still have superpower on this Snorlax, and this will at least get you shields, or you can easily win some matchups as well if they don't shield. So it's definitely a cool core, and also Munchlax in the back would be kind of funny to have a double Munchy team here, but let's go into the next team. You have your Guzzlord already from the research recently, then you might want to try out this team here, but only if you also have a Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini is actually kind of something that you cannot really replace, while the Guzzlord you can replace with a Swilus here. I don't know if there's anything that really replaces the Tapu Fini. You could replace it with like some other water type Pokemon there that will be able to counter potentially like ice type Pokemon that you don't really want to face, or also something like the Steelix. It's the main reason why you have like a water type Pokemon in the lead. You have the Say-Swap here of the Dragonair. If you have the Shadow version, you can definitely use the Shadow version here as well. A Dragonair has access to the move Awkward Tail, and you see basically a similar theme to the team which you had before. You're going to have a type in the lead that a lot of people, like a lot of Pokemon, are kind of weak to. Then you have something as a Say-Swap, which isn't the exact type there, but it has coverage for the type as well, which will be able to do some nice damage against those Pokemon that might want to swap into against you. So Dragonair might be really cool with the move Awkward Tail, especially against something like Auroras. If you want to use some ice types in this meta, which I think are pretty decent, why not use this team? You're going to have a fighter in the lead here, which will be able to also resist other fighters, which is the main reason why you kind of want to use Buzzwole. Buzzwole was recently available for everybody from research as well, so if you have one, why not use it? Otherwise, you could also use Heracross, of course, which is also not banned in this meta, and you still should be fine with it, but definitely Buzzwole would be the way to go here. Being able to resist fighting type moves like Counter is very nice. We see the Say-Swap here going to be the Frostless, trying to bait out basically everything there. It doesn't really matter what Frostless faces. There's basically nothing that can really Say-Swap into it and is completely fine against it, so Frostless is a very cool Pokemon. And then in the back, the Pokemon that you kind of want to save with the Say-Swap of Frostless, you're going to have the Auroras again. Auroras will be the best answer possible for flying types in general. You have a perfect coverage of flying types in the back, which is the main weakness for the Buzzwole. You see another weakness though for this team, which might be a fire type, but I don't think there are a lot in this meta, so I think you should be still fine. Aurora still at least would be neutral against it. The final team here going to be a double steel line, which might put some more people off guard with this one here. I think it's going to be a very cool line to use. You can also use again here in the lead the Buzzwole if you want to. Buzzwole would also fit for this team, I think, but with the Surfetch you also have the coverage against like Wishcast for like the Leaf Blade here that you're going to have for it. You definitely need something for Wishcast if you face it, so like maybe this lead should be the best. Say-Swap here definitely has to be the Steelix. Steelix is going to have the best options as a Say-Swap here, and in the back you might be able to encounter some ice type Pokemon with your you can use either a Rock Throw or Spark version of the Probopass. Both of them are fine, to be fair. Like, I think Spark might be a little bit more consistent. Rock Throw might be sometimes cool to farm something down, but like it really depends on what you want to use. I think both of them are fine. I think it's very fine to have a lead that can deal with the Wishcast. Again, if you have Buzzwole, would be also fine for the lead. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. What league are you going to play? Are you going to play the Open Grid League? Are you going to play this one? Are you both going to play like both leagues at the same time, depending on which day you play? Let me know in the comment section, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and see you in the next video. Bye!